I'm back with another fresh episode of Confessions of a Christian Blogger. This time, as promised in the previous episode, I want to talk about putting together a blog post. By this, I don't mean the content. We can talk about that in a future episode. I'm more talking about the other elements of a blog post. In this episode, we'll look at the 5 elements of an effective blog post. But before we do that, it would be fair to ask, why should we care about this? Why not just write your blog post, hit publish, and let it rest on the quality of your content? I'll confess, since this is the podcast about confessions, that I was that blogger. I put no thought into titles, and I purposely did not include any graphics. I wanted my blog to be as plain as possible, and to be honest, I thought it was my Christian duty to avoid being flashy. I still want to avoid cheap gimmicks, but I also want people to actually read my content. What I'm going to talk about will both encourage people to read your content and will help with SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. It's about making sure that your content gets picked up by search engines. By far, the biggest source of views on my blog comes from Google. Even the less popular search engines bring in more views than most social media shares. We want to make our blog posts more attractive both to human audience and to search engines. The first element is the title. Titles can be hard. I'm a preacher, and I still hate coming up with titles for my sermons. That's okay, because people don't come to church for the titles of my sermons. I have people already there, and they don't care about the title. Traditionally, the posts that get read the most on my blog are either ones that begin with, "What's the difference between?" and list posts such as 5 reasons why or 3 things to avoid, and that sort of thing. Another thing to keep in mind is the question that someone might input into a search engine. The closer your title is to that potential question, the more likely it will come up in a search engine. Also, when you share your post on social media, seeing the question in the title might draw readers who are asking that same question in their mind, but have not gotten around to it. The bottom line is that the title of your blog post matters. A little hack for you if you're comfortable with it. If you are really struggling, you can cut and paste your blog post into ChatGPT and ask it to come up with some suggestions for titles. Most of the titles for these podcast episodes were actually created by ChatGPT. Another element of the blog post that's important is the actual formatting. Technically, you could just publish your post as one big long paragraph, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's helpful to have some white space to break up the text. I would suggest short paragraphs of 2 to 3 sentences. I'd also recommend that you use section titles throughout the post. This helps the reader, and it's good for SEO. One of the reasons this is important is people, including myself, will often scan through a blog post before actually carefully reading any section. If you can format your post so the reader can quickly discover if you have the content they're looking for, they're more likely to stick around. I'd also recommend having some kind of visual image as a part of the blog post. This could be the featured image for the post, which many blogging websites ask for, or an image placed within the body of the post, or both. My biggest warning is that you not just Google image search and download the image you like. Many of those images are copyrighted, and you don't want to get into trouble. There are plenty of royalty-free image sites available. I've often used Pixabay. In addition, I often use PowerPoint to create an image using the title of the post with a nice design. Lately, I've been experimenting with AI, using an AI image generator to come up with an image. AI can give either really good or really bad images. You never really know. The other site I've been using a lot is Canva. Canva is an amazing resource, and I'm still getting to know it. Even the free version has so much available. I'll leave a link in the show notes. One other thing, make sure to fill out the alt text for your images. This is helpful for SEO, and even more importantly, it makes your content more accessible for people visually impaired. That would seem to be a lot, but there's more. I would also recommend that you seek to include some links to other relevant content. This can be your own content or that of someone else's. Both would be good. Perhaps you've recorded a YouTube video on a related topic. Go ahead and embed that into the post. Link to other posts that you have written or other content that you found by different authors. Search engines like to reward that which is best for the reader. Here's the final thing that I want to remind you of. Include sharing buttons for other people to share your post on social media. I'm amazed at how many well-known bloggers do not have these share buttons. Why make it harder for people to share all your great content? If you do not already have social sharing buttons, there will be a plugin that you can install, and that will add them. And there you go, the 5 elements of an effective blog post. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Confessions of a Christian Blogger podcast. I hope you'll join me next time. But before you leave, I want to let you know something. I'm an affiliate of JetHost Pro, and they are the service I use to host all of my blogs. JetHost Pro is dedicated to providing top quality web and email hosting for individuals and small business clients. In business since 1995, they've proven they're in for the long haul, and they go that extra mile for their clients every time. If you're interested in learning more, and if you're interested in supporting this podcast by using my affiliate link, go to my website, stephenjbedard.com, and click on the web hosting on the menu at the very bottom, or go to stephenjbedard.com/web-hosting. And please make sure to subscribe to this podcast, rate this podcast, and share this podcast with your fellow Christian bloggers. Thank you, and God bless.